Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Wednesday. It is the first day of 2025. Happy New Year to you all. I hope you all had a good night. Whatever you were doing last night, whether you were celebrating out on the town or whether you were like me, camped up inside with a couple of children, desperately trying to stay up to midnight for the first time. They made it as well, so well done to them. Happy New Year. Hope you all had a very good evening. And hopefully, fingers crossed, 2025 gets off to the perfect start a little bit later on today because it is match day, of course. Arsenal versus Brentford at the GTEC Stadium in just a few hours' time. I'll be heading there very, very shortly. So, if you're not able to watch the game and you want sort of live updates and all that sort of stuff, I'll be doing that on my usual social media, Twitter, X, not Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, that sort of stuff. And I'll try and do a video after the game as well, hopefully summing up what has been another very good Arsenal win at Brentford. They've won 3 games there in a row now without conceding a goal. I saw the last time they've won at an away ground 4 times in a row without conceding a goal, I think was way back in 2003 against Sunderland or something like that. So hopefully Arsenal can do that a little bit later on today, but they're going to be up against a very, very strong Brentford side, especially at home, who score lots and lots of goals. I expect it's going to be a pretty open game, I would say, but we shall see on that. It's absolutely blowing a gale. I'm looking outside my window right now. It's absolutely blowing a gale at the moment. Hopefully the wind calms down a little bit before the game gets underway, because I can't imagine it's going to be it's going to be too easy playing football in this at the moment. So fingers crossed the conditions improve a little bit and that leads to a slightly better game of football. So we're going to talk about today's game. We'll look at what Mikel's been saying about Brentford. We'll look at what he's been saying about Leandro Trossard, some interesting stuff from them as well. Of course, we'll do the predicted 11. I'll say what I think Mikel Arteta might do today. Got some comments from you guys in terms of what you would do for your predicted 11 today, or your starting 11 today. Also, a bit of reaction to what I was talking about yesterday and a sort of review of 2024 as well. So plenty to get stuck into. We'll start with Brentford. Mikel obviously talking about them ahead of the game. It says, very tough. They're a really, really good team. When you see their record at home until last week, it's remarkable. They've evolved and adapted as well. Their qualities in the team are because of the players they have right now. So I'm very, very impressed. And he's right. You know, Brentford at home this season have been absolutely incredible. Away from home, they've been pretty poor. At home, they've been incredible. If they'd have sort of got half of the results they've got away from home than they have at home, they'd be up pushing for top 4 right now. Such is what they're doing at the GTEC Stadium. And I think they've just coped really well, Brentford, without Ivan Toney, wasn't it? It was like, what were they going to do once Toney left? How are they going to deal with that? Well, they've dealt with it really, really well. In Buemo and Visa, they got 2 incredibly good footballers up top who combine really, really well, who cause so many problems to teams, stretch defences, they're strong as well. And Arsenal are going to have to deal with that today. You know, Gabriel and Saliba are going to have their work cut out, not just those 2, the fullbacks as well, to keep things tight. Because if you can keep things tight against Brentford, if you can keep out their attack, then they do offer you up chances because they are a very open team, especially at home. You look at how many goals they've conceded at home, and you would hope then if Arsenal can produce a really strong defensive performance today, which we know they're very well capable of, then that should allow them to sort of go forward and pick Brentford off when they can and open up the space that is going to be left behind Brentford. So on the need to potentially rotate today, Mikel says, I don't know. We'll watch the Ipswich game back and then we'll watch the training sessions that we always do and feel and have a feeling of what is the best team to start and what is the best team to finish the game in relation to what position as well, the individual moment of each player. I don't really see this game as one where he's going to rotate too much. I think he might make a couple of decisions in terms of slightly different setup from the Ipswich game, but I'm not sure it's going to be down to rotation. I think it's purely going to be more sort of tactical and in response to what maybe he saw in the Ipswich game. So I just don't see it as one that there's going to be sort of heavy rotation for it. Arsenal had a bit of a break since the Ipswich game, you know, a couple of extra days off than everyone else. You do have the Brighton game, which is approaching quickly. I think if there's going to be any sort of rotation, it might be in that Brighton game rather than today's one against Brentford. Declan Rice is going to be important. I think I'm really intrigued when I get to the predicted 11 in terms of what Arsenal are going to do in terms of the midfield. And when I talk about Mikel Arteta and some of the decisions that he is sort of potentially facing today, I think midfield is one of those decisions. Obviously, he went with Declan Rice playing as a 6 and then Havertz and Odegaard ahead of him against Ipswich. Just feel like he might do something a little bit differently today than that one. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we see Thomas Partey come back in and then maybe play Declan Rice further forward as the 8 alongside Martin Odegaard. So, yeah, I think midfield's definitely going to be an interesting one for Mikel in terms of what he does, and then certainly in terms of the central striker as well. Will Gabriel Jesus continue? Do you move Kai Havertz, play central forward, and put Jesus onto the bench? Those are some of the decisions that Arteta has got facing him today, and who plays up front. And he was talking about Leandro Trossard in the build-up to the game. I thought this was quite interesting in terms of Leo, who's kind of known as a bit of a spiky character, sort of behind the scenes, and he's not really happy when he's not playing and all that sort of stuff. And we saw when he scored against Villa at the start of the season, when he'd been benched and lost his place to Martinelli, the sort of celebration, and everyone picked up on that. And he was speaking about Trossard in the build-up to today's game. I thought it was some interesting stuff. He said on his personality, he said, look, they all want to play. Leo, I think in the last 12 months, is a lot more consistency, and he's deserved that. He's had a lot of competition in his position, and he's raised the level. He plays at that level. He'll play like anybody else, but he has the capacity to do something special in the final third. On his role in the team, he says, with us, he's played left winger, he's played left attacking midfielder, he's played as a 9. The player I value a lot, and we value a lot, because he's very versatile, very competitive, and he's always a massive goal threat for the team. So really happy with him. And on his attitude, says, look, Leo's naturally a little bit of a moaner, but I like that because he's very competitive. You have training sessions, always busy with the referee's decision because he wants to win. And that's what I love. He always wants to be the best. And when he's not there, he's not happy. And that really pushes him. That's why when he comes on the pitch, he can make an impact, because he's got that drive and hunger of, I'm going to show you. But I love that about him. It's interesting, that last bit there, isn't it? Kind of why maybe Trossard is very good off the bench and makes impacts off the bench, is because he's kind of just very, very angry by the time he gets on the pitch, and he wants to show the manager that he was wrong not to play him. And there's always that debate about Trossard, isn't it? Is he better as a starter, or is he better as a sort of impact substitute? I think the one thing with Trossard, and I saw this falls on Martin Odegaard as well, is these two, we know they're very, very capable of scoring lots and lots of goals, and we just need a little bit more from them this season when it comes to output. I don't think Martin Odegaard scored from open play yet this season. I know he's missed a large chunk of the season, but that's not good enough for Martin Odegaard. He needs to score more goals. And Leo, we know, how many did he get last year? 17, 18? Needs to try and get back to those sort of numbers if he can, because it was so important. He scored so many vital goals for Arsenal last season, not quite been able to replicate that this season. And I think that's hurting Arsenal as a result. So great to see him get on a real sort of bit of a goal scoring run, especially in the absence of Bukayo Saka as well, because that's when the team needs these sort of players to step up. On Raheem Sterling, this is what Mikel Arteta had to say about the injury. First of all, he said he was gutted because he made a good game against Palace in the League Cup. He could have scored 2 goals. He made an assist, and in the end, he got injured after one of the training sessions. That was his opportunity, because naturally he would have played in that position. But knowing Raheem, I think he'll be back quite soon. Definitely the injury to Sterling's not as bad as Arsenal initially thought it was in terms of the knee injury, and they are hopeful that he will be back a lot sooner than originally thought. Whether that ends up being a big positive for Arsenal, who knows? Because we haven't seen enough of Sterling to suggest he'll come on and make that big of a difference if he is in the team. But certainly without Saka at the moment, you need all you can get. And Sterling's one of Arsenal's key attacking options. So it'd be good to see him back. He's not going to be available today. Well, certainly don't expect he'll be available today, but should be back sooner rather than later, which I suppose, Mikel Arteta will certainly think that is a positive thing. Right, this is what I've gone for then, predicted 11-wise. As I said earlier, sort of looking at the midfield and the forward line, I think is going to be the really interesting thing in terms of what Arteta does. He has a decision at left back as well. Do you stick with Lewis Skelly, or do you bring Calafiori back in? Last time I predicted he would bring Calafiori back in. He stuck with Lewis Skelly. Today I'm predicting that he's going to stick with Lewis Skelly, so more than likely he'll bring Calafiori back in. So this is what I've gone for my predicted 11. So Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Lewis Skelly as the back 4. And then wouldn't be surprised if we see Thomas Partey come into midfield at the base, and then you play Odegaard and Rice sort of ahead of it. And that means you've moved Kai Havertz then back into the central striker role. Jesus drops to the bench, and you have Martinelli and Trossard either side of Havertz. So I'm in an R in what I think he will do, but this is what I've sort of fallen down on what I think he's going to go with. So Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Lewis Skelly, but in front of David Raya, of course. Thomas Partey at the base of midfield with Odegaard and Rice ahead of him, and then Martinelli, Havertz, and Trossard. And that means that Jesus can drop to the bench. You have more attacking options off the bench if needed, along with Ismail Yeri, Marino as well, who I was very close to putting Marino in this predicted 11 and going with Rice, Odegaard, Marino, because I thought Marino played well when he came on in midweek. Was it midweek? I can't even remember what sort of day that game fell on. But he played well, and I wondered if that might have impressed Arteta enough to start him in this game. But no, I'm going with Partey, Odegaard, and Rice as my midfield 3. And here's what a couple of you guys have been saying. Aurora Freak says, hey, Charles, want to wish you the best for 2025. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Same to you. And you said, against Brentford, I would play Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, and Calafiori. And then Rice and Marino behind Jesus, Odegaard, and Martinelli and Havertz. So that's like a 4-2. Yeah, it's 4-2-3-1, isn't it? Formation there. Odegaard playing more as the 10. Have a Rice and Marino as a double pivot by the looks of it. And then Tata below says, hi, Charles. Happy New Year. Thank you very much. Agreed with all your reviews, especially Saka as player of the year. You got predicted 11 for today. Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori, Odegaard, Rice and Marino, Martinelli, Havertz and Jesus. And you've got MLS, Partey, Trossard and Wanyeri. Very strong options off the bench. So there's a couple of your starting 11s that you want to see in today's game against Brentford. Right, moving on now, sort of looking at what you guys have been saying in reaction to my sort of review of 2024 that I did yesterday. Some interesting stuff. Enjoyed reading through these in the comments. David says, my favourite moment of the calendar year was Calafiori's leveller against City and Ben White smashing the ball off John McGinn's face in immediate response to him. McGinn intentionally and inexplicably kicking the ball into Saliba after being tripped. Yes, that was very, very funny. Shane says, save of the season. That's something I forgot to do yesterday. So good shout. He's put Raya's double save against Atalanta in the Champions League. Yeah, that was absolutely mad, especially as it came sort of hot on the heels of his double save against Aston Villa as well. So very good shout, Shane there. Alia says, my ratings are as follows. Favourite moment, Havertz's brace against Chelsea. Favourite match, West Ham away. Goal of 2024, Saka versus Liverpool this season. Was just something about it. Felt he was world class right there. Player of the year, Saka hands down. Worst game, agree with you on Aston Villa, as it felt we lost the title there. Biggest disappointment, Tomiyasu. I know it's not his fault, but he keeps getting injured when we need him, and I feel it's cost us. Biggest regret, not getting anything versus West Ham at home, even though we battered them. Yeah, although technically that was 2023, because that was like the 28th or 27th of December, wasn't it? 2023. So it wasn't in 2024. Breakthrough star, I would still say Ethan. I know he had a dip of form recently, but his skill level and his ceiling is very high. I remember when he came on versus Leicester and changed the whole flow of the game. Waiting for more from him. Thank you, Charles. Enjoy listening to your videos while commuting to work. Thank you very much for that. Few more here. Roku says, Happy New Year, Charles. Same to you. I think Havertz deserves a shout out for 2024. He was front and centre during our title charge and has definitely been one of our best players throughout the year. Yep, agree with you 100%. So consistent throughout 2024. Elizabeth says, Happy New Year. My favourite 2024 games were Liverpool and Chelsea at home. Loved it that Ben White scored 2. So random, and Kai celebrating versus Chelsea. Nervous for Brentford. I remember when Arsenal played City a few years back and it was such a tough loss. Have a safe and exciting new year, everyone. And then Tino has got in touch. His best moment for me, 2 Saka moments, his goal against Bayern at home in the Champions League in that Liverpool game this season when he sat Robertson down to score. Honourable mention to that Calafiori screamer against City. Shame we didn't win either of those games, but those were the real highlights for me. Low points of Villa games last season were quite disappointing. Game of the season, though, is tied between Chelsea at the Emirates and Newcastle again at the Emirates. First half versus Newcastle, we absolutely suffocated them. Loved it. Player of the year is Saka. It has to be for me. So thank you very much, everyone, getting in touch with your reactions and your reviews of 2024. Like I said, I enjoyed going through those in the comments yesterday. Right, that's it from me today. Well, I say that's it from me. It's not going to be from me. That's it from me for today as a whole, because I'll be back a little bit later on, hopefully, to do a video after the game at the GTEC Stadium, which I'll be heading to very, very shortly. So be tuned. Be sure to come back here to the channel after the game for my reaction video, hopefully talking about a very good Arsenal win as well. So enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the start of 2025. Enjoy the game later, everyone. And I'll speak to you very, very soon. Bye-bye. Happy New Year.